Welcome back to Chess Thoughts, where we explore the questions that make us think, feel, and sometimes question everything. Today's episode is called, Are We All Alone Together? We're going to explore an intriguing paradox. While we as humans deeply crave connection, we might also be, at our core, ultimately alone within our own minds. It's an idea that's both unsettling and strangely comforting. So let's unpack it. Are we all alone together? Let's start with the basics. As humans, we're wired for connection. Studies have shown that meaningful social bonds improve our mental health, lengthen our lives, and give us a sense of purpose. From friendships and family to romantic relationships, connection is what makes us feel whole. But if we dig a little deeper, there's a unique and inevitable truth. No matter how close we feel to someone, we can never fully share our internal world with them. Think about it. Our thoughts, emotions, and experiences are entirely subjective. Even when we try to express what we feel or think, there's a gap, a barrier between what we experience and what others can understand. It's like two people staring at the same painting, but seeing it in entirely different ways. That's where the paradox lies. We crave connection, but each of us is ultimately isolated within our own mind. So why do we experience this disconnect? Psychologists suggest that each of us has a unique inner life, made up of memories, emotions, and beliefs that only we can access. This inner world is what makes us who we are, but it also creates a boundary that no one else can cross. You can share your thoughts with someone, but they'll never truly experience them in the same way you do. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called this the prison of subjectivity. The idea that we're all confined within our own perspective. But Sartre didn't see this as purely negative. In fact, he believed that accepting our fundamental aloneness could lead us to a more authentic way of being. Rather than relying on others to complete us or understand us perfectly, we can start to embrace our individual experience as something uniquely ours. This brings us to a powerful question. If we are inherently alone within our minds, does that make connection any less meaningful? Some would argue it does the opposite. The very fact that we're so distinct as individuals makes connection more remarkable. Every time we share a moment with someone, find common ground, or feel understood, we're bridging that gap. In a way, connection becomes a testament to our shared humanity. Two separate worlds coming together, even if just for a moment. Author C.S. Lewis put it beautifully. Friendship is born at that moment when one person says to another, "What? You too? I thought I was the only one." It's in those small moments of shared understanding that we feel less alone. And maybe that's what makes connection so profound. But there's also a darker side to this paradox. The loneliness epidemic is real, and many people feel more isolated than ever, even in a world where we're technically more connected than ever. The rise of social media has created a double-edged sword. We have the illusion of connection, but it can sometimes deepen the sense of being alone, especially when everyone seems to be living perfect lives. So, where do we find real connection in a world that often feels so isolating? Maybe the answer lies in vulnerability. When we allow ourselves to be truly open with others, to show our fears, insecurities, and hopes, we allow for a deeper kind of connection. Vulnerability breaks down the illusion of separation and helps us remember that everyone else is just as human, just as flawed, and just as complex as we are. There's another layer to this question that goes beyond individual relationships. Are we, as a society, alone together? In modern urban life, we're surrounded by people, but we rarely interact on a meaningful level. We pass each other on the street, sit next to each other on the subway, and yet we remain in our own worlds. Philosopher Martin Buber explored this idea in his concept of the I-thou relationship versus the I-it relationship. In an I-thou interaction, we see the other person as a whole, as someone with their own inner life. In an I-it interaction, we see others as objects, just another part of the background of our lives. Buber argued that modern society has pushed us toward more I-it interactions, where people become just another piece in our personal puzzle rather than beings with whom we can have real, meaningful connections. Could this be the reason so many of us feel disconnected, even when we're not alone? So, is there a way to reconcile this paradox of being alone together? Maybe the answer lies in acceptance. Instead of resisting the idea that we are alone in our minds, what if we embraced it? By accepting our separateness, we might actually find more freedom to connect in an honest way without expecting anyone to fully complete or understand us. It allows us to appreciate the beauty of our unique inner worlds while still cherishing the moments when we connect with others. At the end of the day, perhaps being alone together is simply part of the human experience. And rather than letting it bring us down, we can use it as a reminder to cherish the connections we do have, however imperfect or fleeting. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of connection, isolation, and the strange paradox of being alone together. I hope this episode gave you a new perspective on the nature of relationships and the beauty of our shared, yet separate, experiences. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment. Remember, life is full of connections, some strong, some fragile, and all uniquely beautiful. Until next time, keep connecting, keep exploring, and embrace the mystery of it all.